welcome into SportsZone All Access here on this Tuesday, September the 30th. And it feels kind of crazy to say it, Ian, but today, the last day of September.
Wild.
It is, because you think about it. You lay out your Saturdays, 4 Saturdays in October, moving into the next month already, right? Let me look at my calendar here. 4 Saturdays in September, 5 Fridays specifically. Okay, we'll have football on all the Fridays, a couple Thursdays actually towards the end of the month, and then 2 more Fridays, and season's over. Yeah,
blink of an eye.
7 weeks. 7 weeks, we're done. 7 weeks, we're done. So kind of crazy to think about when you talk about high school football. Now let's talk about high school football. We saw a lot of things this weekend. I think a lot of questions were answered, really, and then a couple were also brought up, too. We'll talk all about what we kind of learned from in the last week of high school football. Well, let's start off by talking about the top games that we saw. We covered a lot of games last week, 15 to be exact, Ian. Number 3 on our list for top stops were O'Gorman, Jefferson. First of all, you see the final score. That's half the product. Jefferson missed a game-tying field goal late. I think he had the leg, just missed it to the left. But, I mean, what a game. And then some questions get brought up, because you look at 11 AAA, you feel like, okay, Lincoln, Brandon Valley 1 and 2, either way you could go. Jefferson's a close third. Well, not anymore. O'Gorman just beat him, and O'Gorman back in the win column with a big victory on the road to get to 3-2.
Well, that's just the thing of the tiers of the ranked teams that I kind of felt pretty secure in the first couple weeks of the season. You mentioned those top two that were in the state championship game last year.
Yep.
Far and away, it seemed like the top 2 teams. Then Jefferson was kind of in that middle tier, and then O'Gorman and Harrisburg were in that lower tier of the ranked teams, still, very respectable. But now O'Gorman kind of messing everything up here, saying, wait, no, we should be that third team behind Brandon Valley and Lincoln. And so a big win for the Knights, and maybe everything isn't so clear-cut in 11 AAA.
Well, and for the game specifically, this was a weird game. You're going to watch some of these highlights here, and Jefferson gets a safety because O'Gorman gets backed up to their own end zone, and then they snap the ball before the quarterback was looking. The ball goes out the back of the end zone. And then Jefferson drives down. They score a touchdown. They lead 16-7, right? Weird score. Well, then later, Jefferson is punting out of their own end zone. Punt goes over the punt. Snap goes over the punter's head. Safety. How does O'Gorman answer after 2 safeties? These 2 touchdowns right here. Jace Muller, you're going to see here, who was injured last week. He's back. And then Gavin Hamrich, just a guy at running back that they wanted to have back. This is him right here. You see why they wanted him back, right? Just hit the corner and run, and he did. So O'Gorman looked really sharp. I think it's a statement win for them to say, hey, we're still here. We're still a part of this group. And now they gel in that group with Harrisburg too. There's some talent in that group. We'll talk more about 11 AAA here in a minute. In 11A, I like this game. And, I got to go to the first 2 games that we're talking about here in our top games that we went to over on Friday. And Del Rapids Tri-Valley, this was a great game. This is Brody Dibvig with a big old run, runs it inside the 10. They carry it to the next quarter, convert here on 4th down and goal with the touchdown. That was the only score. And honestly, Ian, I thought I'm leaving this at halftime with 7-0. This is the quickest interception you'll ever see because he caught it with a knee on the ground. So he's down instantly. And then they turn around on 4th and 1. They convert for a touchdown here. I left when it was 8-6 thinking, man, there's not much scoring. 14-14 tie. Overtime happens. Del Rapids gets a touchdown and an overtime interception. And that's how that game went. It was a fantastic contest to be a part of and to get to watch. And, when you get those ranked matchups, this is what you only can ask for, right?
When you see that OT in the final scoreline, you know that the game was something good, and this one was. It delivered. Now you look at these 2 teams' resumes. Both of them now have 1 loss. Del Rapids was by 1 point at Madison.
Right.
And Tri-Valley was an overtime loss to Del Rapids. So both of them, I feel like you can take away from this of, hey, we're right there with just about everyone else in the class. Sioux Falls Christian maybe a little bit ahead of everyone. But in that next tier of teams in 11A, these two making a statement for themselves.
Yeah, two teams that haven't gotten a shot at Sioux Falls Christian yet. So that we'll see if that comes down the road. But it seems like in 11A, whenever we get these ranked games, defense wins. And 22-14 is a pretty defensive game for sure. The number one stop that we had on Friday night, this was a thriller, man. And I think coming into the game, Lincoln scoring 54 points a game, I don't know if anyone would have thought that Washington could be the team to stop that. They're averaging 55 points a game. Their lowest output was 54 in a game, and Washington's the team to hold them to 33. Got to feel really good if you're that Washington defense after what you were able to do, and then the offense came on strong with it too, and they nearly won the football game.
Well, you think about, you said it, Lincoln averaging 54 points a game, but they hadn't scored fewer than 50 points in any game this year.
No.
Looking down their schedule, 62 against Stevens, 50 against O'Gorman, 55 against Roosevelt, 57 against Jefferson. We thought maybe heading into that Jefferson game, maybe that's the game where they start to slow down a little bit. Right. And it wasn't until Washington where they only put up 33 points. Just a great showing from the Warriors, and maybe calling into question a little bit what this Lincoln team is.
I don't know. Does it call into question, or does it make you also say that, hey, when the going got tough, they won the football game? There's something to be said there too, that even when Washington played their best game of the year by far, and the Warriors, they look like they're figuring it out a little bit. They got Jace Woods back and healthy. He's one of the best receivers in the state. SDSU's getting him for a reason. And they might be getting a steal, it looks like, but Lincoln still found a way to win. So I'll tell you what, I'm excited to watch both of them go forward, right? Lincoln being number one, and then Washington being a team that those top teams won't want to see when playoff time rolls around. Well, we're going to talk all about 11-man and 9-man. That's where we'll transition to when we come back to SportsZone All Access. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access here at the KELOLAND station, our KELOLAND Plus desk that we've had the fortune of talking extended amount of sports for several weeks now. And we got to do another fun part there. We talked about some of our top stops. Now we're going to run through 11-man and 9-man and continue some good conversation going here. Starting with the 11 AAA ranked games, when I look at these four games, two blowouts and two not blowouts, and two just, first of all, fantastic games. We already talked about both of those. Is there any score, Ian, specifically that kind of jumps out at you? And you could call a surprise a little bit. Obviously, that Washington-Lincoln one, is that where we'd be leaning?
Yeah, that's the one that jumps out to me. O'Gorman-Jefferson, we knew was going to be a pretty tight game.
We knew it was going to be close either way.
And it delivered. The question was just which team would come out on top. But the Lincoln-Washington game really surprised me at how close it was down the stretch. But, Grant, you mentioned a few moments ago before the break that a close win could actually help Lincoln, and I completely agree with that. When you think about what went down at the Dakota Dome last year in the 11 AAA championship game, they were down to Brandon Valley and had to come back, in a big second half from the Patriots led them to the win. And now maybe a close game, maybe a little bit of a wake-up call also of, hey, we know we can win close games. We're not just going to blow everyone out by 40 points.
Well, and I think the graphic on here is good, Ian, because it says finds a way. And I think that's an accurate way to say it, because they did find a way to win. And this is what is so hard to beat about this team. It's like, even for Washington, who played so well, and we got to tip our cap to Washington. They ran it well. Here's Braden Jackson running it well. They threw it well. They moved the ball with Jace Woods well. Their defense was flying around, and they led them 21-7 at one point. They gave up just a couple of scores in the second half. In the first half, excuse me. Really, they were fantastic, and Lincoln still found a way.
Well, think about how much we're crediting the Washington defense, and Lincoln scored 33 points. That shows you the big high-power offense that Lincoln has, that we're crediting the other team's defense, and yet they still gave up 33 points. So it just shows you just how good this Lincoln team is. And as you said, all the more credit to what Washington did too.
Yeah, no, that was an 11 AAA instant classic right there. That's the words I was looking for. In 11 AA, there were some good games, really close games. I mean, all four of the ranked games were one-score contests. Give props. Aberdeen Central had to make a long trip. Oh, did they have? No, they hosted them. Sturgis had to make the long trip, and maybe that could have played into it a little bit, but big win for the Golden Eagles nevertheless. T-Area edging Mitchell out in overtime. Huron, we know they've played a loaded schedule. Nobody said that they've looked pretty in every game, but they found themselves 4-1. The Tigers have been incredible this year. 17 points per game that they're giving up. They're scoring 22. Really nothing flashy with them, but Ian, you were down in Pierre, and unfortunately we had a technical difficulty that took off some of our game for live coverage there. But it did not take away at all the fact that that was a tremendous football game.
Yeah, Pierre Yankton, it was last year in the semifinals, and we knew it would be a great game again this year. And what do you know? A last-minute touchdown to be the deciding score in the game. Last year it was Pierre who got the win. This time it's Yankton, and just what a game back and forth. Pierre goes down and ties the game late and then leaves Yankton just a little bit of time. And what do the Bucks do? They march right down the field and score the game-winning touchdown in the final seconds. I'd love to see these two match up once again come playoff time.
Obviously, right? I mean, they're two of the best teams in the state. You obviously want to see them play, but it doesn't change to me how great this game was and what Steve Steele was still able to dial up in the toughest moments, considering that they were going in to play number one Yankton. And could we see this game again? I don't know. Right now, the standings have Pierre at third, where Pierre would like to stay. But here's a very interesting thing. Based on the current seed points, Huron is above Yankton. So right now, if the playoffs started this week, Yankton 2, Pierre 3, we'd see the matchup again. So, and that's just credit to Huron. They lost to the number one team, and then they've beaten everybody else. So they've looked pretty good. A lot of respect to what Huron's done and obviously what Yankton's done, going undefeated after that really tough game the other day. In 11A, Sioux Falls Christian, a big statement win. We talked about that Del Rapids Tri-Valley game. What a great game that one was. And then West Central, the offense last week, they had to beat Lennox 9-7. This week, the offense comes to play and they roll past Canton. But back into our original conversation at the top of that, Sioux Falls Christian has played some tough teams this year, right? They played West Central, who's currently ranked. They played Lennox, who was number 2 in the defending state champ. And they've now played number 2 Madison. And in those games, they've given up 6 points. It's another statement win for the Chargers.
What else can we say about what Sioux Falls Christian has done this year? And you mentioned those 3 games, their 3 toughest opponents, giving up a total of 6 points in those games.
2 shutouts in there as well, yeah.
Right. I was going to start it off and say maybe credit to Madison that they scored on this Sioux Falls Christian defense, because prior to this week, the Chargers had only given up points in one of their games prior to the 6 points that Madison scored. The defense just absolutely lights out. And then when you put up 42 points, I mean, there's no way that a team is going to be able to score with Sioux Falls Christian if they're putting up 40 points a game.
Well, and Madison had their chance. It was 7-6. And when you look back at these highlights, and I'll start them over here so we can see them. When you look back at these highlights, Madison's got the ball in a lot of the highlights. They got it right here. Interception. Then they score a touchdown, and Madison scores a touchdown, makes it 7-6. Another interception. There's so much talent on this Sioux Falls Christian defense. They play a 3-5 for a reason, because they got 5 linebackers that are legit talents. Multiple of them going to play college football. They have a safety in Tate Connell that's going to play college football. These guys have offers out everywhere. I mean, there's so much talent on this Sioux Falls Christian defense. If you want to beat them, you got to almost do like what Lennox did, where Lennox, didn't score, but they kept it at a 1 to 2 score game. They tried to limit them too. You got to beat them with the defense, because you ain't going to beat. You're not going to be able to score 25 points on this team. Their defense is legit, and certainly the best in 11A. Now outscoring opponents in their 3 ranked games, 83-6.
It almost makes me wonder what Rapid City Christian did to score 21 on that.
All
Sioux
second
Falls
half.
Christian
All
defense.
second half. I wonder if they took some players out. I don't know. It was 35-0 or 28-0 when I left in the first quarter. So some late points in there as well. 11B, Elk Point Jefferson looked great. Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central beat Wagner in a good one there. St. Thomas More blows out Lakota Tech. Mobridge Pollock beats Belfouche 40-6. So all blowouts except for that great game. I'm impressed by Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, Sanborn Central. I'm also impressed by, we talk about them a lot because they're really, really good. Elk Point Jefferson continuing to roll now 5-0 on the season. The Huskies are looking really good in the class, though they've been jumped this week in seed points. Now Woonsocket, Wessington Springs, number 1 in that department.
Yes, very true. And we talked about it right off the top of the show that hard to believe we're, just a couple of weeks away from playoffs, but still several weeks away from playoffs. But what can you say
about? A lot
about
could change by then.
What can you say about the Huskies, though, outscoring opponents by 31 points per game, just looking the part every bit like a team that's on a mission to get back to the Dome, and they've been number 1 for just about the whole year and keep proving us right.
Yeah, they keep proving us right because we're saying that they're a really good team, and I'm excited for this week. Obviously, we'll talk more about it in our preview show later this week. Wagner, Elk Point Jefferson. And first of all, for Wagner, a great start going undefeated. They had to beat a really good winter team. Then they had to go to Woonsocket and play the Bucks. Lost there in a really good one. Now they got to go to Elk Point and play the Huskies. Oof. What a schedule that they've had to endure. Well, we'll move to 9-man, wrap up our show with our last segment when we come back to SportsZone All Access. Welcome back, SportsZone All Access. It's our third and final segment for today's show, the last day of September. Already into October. And it does, you wouldn't know by the weather. My goodness, it is warm out there this week. Might see some heat time. It's very rare in October we see heat timeouts. We might see that come Friday night's action, but let's continue and finish up wrapping up last week's action in 9AA. You have Freeman Marion, Freeman Academy had a bye. Hamlin big over Redfield. Elkton Lake Benton also on a bye. Hill City a little closer than they've been. Bennett County playing them tough on the road for Hill City. And then Parkston rolling past Bonhomme 70-21. And when you watch these highlights, this was Parkston and Bonhomme. Bonhomme had a great start. You can't start a game better than the opening kick going to the house. And then Parkston just took over from there and went and put up a season high 70 points and made a big statement in that win, improving to 4-1 on the season now.
Yeah, definitely a big statement win. And when you look at their scores from earlier in the year, they scored 6 points in a loss to Freeman Marion, Freeman Academy, then 40 against Stanley County. But then their last 2 games, just 26 and 16 points. So the 70 coming out of nowhere seemingly. And
against a good team, too, mind you. Yeah.
Maybe starting to figure it out on the offensive side.
Yeah, I mean, and their defense fed their offense. You saw just a minute ago there was a fumble, 4 takeaways in the first quarter alone. So that's big for Parkston and a big reason why they're winning again. And we thought they lost to Freeman Marion, Freeman Academy. You tuck them aside a little bit and you go, no, you can't tuck Parkston aside. This is a team that was in the Dome last year. They could get there again. And they're starting to play really good football. 9A ranked games. Wall beats Stanley County big. Yeah, Wall's good. If they don't score 50 at this point, they've played somebody. They've had to have played one of the best teams in the state. They're averaging 57.8 points per game. Warner rolling Northwestern. They're looking good. Alcester Hudson rolls Gayville Volland. Platte Geddes rolls Lyman. And Howard had a bye. So basically, if you're a ranked team in 9A, you looked really, really good. That includes Alcester Hudson. I think this was one of their biggest games of the season, Ian, because, I'm not saying Gayville Volland, they're a class below them, and they're only 1-4 now. But it was a big game because this was their first loss of the year that they had 2 weeks ago to a good Freeman Marion, Freeman Academy team. It's all about how you bounce back some of these weeks, and they bounced back with a statement 41-6 win. defense, offense, all looked the part in a domination for the Cubs, who continue to look really good in 9A.
Clearly getting it done on both sides of the ball there, as you can see. You don't win by 35 points, and one of the sides of the ball is lacking. So impressive, and now coming up a really big game in a couple weeks against St. Mary.
Well, and it helps their team stats look a little better. And I know it's not about team stats, but they're only scoring, it says they're scoring 32 points a game. That's impressive, but giving up 21 points a game. And the reason that number is maybe a little higher than what I think that they're as good as, it's because they play so many good teams. And this week, helping even that out a little bit by rolling past a Gayville Volland team. And for Alcester Hudson, off this week, and then Del Rapids St. Mary's next week. Yeah, we're looking forward to that one. It's our game of the week. We're going to have that one live on KELOLAND Plus, KELOLAND.com, and Kelo Extra next Friday. Then we finish it up in 9B, and you have Sully Buttes beating Faulkton Area. Sully Buttes, 22-0 they led. Faulkton Area, 22 unanswered to tie it. Sully Buttes scored the last touchdown and wins the game by 8 points. Great game there. Del Rapids St. Mary's wins big. Avon off. Ipswich wins big as well. Sully Buttes continuing to look really good. We're talking about Del Rapids St. Mary's, who had 30 points in the first 6 minutes of this game, 16 points in the first minute and a half. I was 5 minutes late to kick off, and it was 16-0 already. They're just really good.
They are. I'm looking at it, outscoring teams by 42.5 points per game.
That's good.
Of course, that average helped out with the win this week, but still, yeah, they just continue to roll in 9B, now moving up to second in seed points. Who knows where they could go the rest of the season? Yeah,
they have a ton of talent. They got a couple of big guys. One that's getting some college looks, Alexander Lindemann, the 6'4", 290-pound offensive lineman. He's a stud. Then they got guys with speed like this dude, the quarterback, Tremere Hansen. They got Logan Bauer, their tight end. They list him as he plays a receiver kind of position. And then obviously they have Lincoln LeBrun, who's one of the fastest players in the state. So they have a host of talent. And when you can have a couple offensive linemen and a lot of speed to go with it, that's when you can get really dangerous in nine-man football, especially in those smaller 9B class. And yeah, St. Mary's is dangerous as they come. And we'll see. I believe they are off this week as well. Yeah, yeah, they are. They are off this week, and then Alcester Hudson next week, which we mentioned should be a really good one. So that's going to do it for us. Really good show. A lot of stuff that we talked about today. We'll have another jam-packed full show coming for you on Wednesday. We thank you for watching on KELOLAND Plus here on SportsZone All Access.